This is the story about the Hamar Tribe. We are witness to an unfolding drama as two men are tested with life-changing challenges. Events at the very heart of Hamar culture. A boy faces the rites of passage to manhood. He must prove himself worthy by a feat of strength and daring. The other, a man, must put his father's uneasy spirit to rest 5 years after he died. The Hamar live in southern Ethiopia. Their land borders on the Omo River. There are about 40,000 people with their own language and ceremonies. There are a few villages scattered throughout their land, where at weekly markets people meet, sell and exchange produce, and gossip. They are a pastoral people whose wealth is in their cattle and goats. Each man has 2 herds, one far away searching out good grazing, the other at home to supply milk, blood and meat for the family. They grow sorghum and corn, which the women process into their staple food. Berkey milks his father's cows, lives in his father's house. This, despite his father Suri having died 5 years ago. Berkey has little to call his own, other than his wife and children. Berkey's wife Aiki grinds sorghum daily to produce flour. Berkey still lives in the shadow of his father. Though dead, he is still an ever-present force in Berkey's day-to-day decisions. In fact, his father still controls his life. It was only Suri's earthly body that ceased to be 5 years ago. In every other sense, he stayed alive. His presence is all around, and he must be consulted on all issues. It is only now when elders, family and friends agree that Suri's presence has dimmed sufficiently that this funeral can take place. So tonight the ceremony starts. It's a long, complicated event that has to be done according to tradition. Berkey will inherit at the end, and if the ceremony is successful, his father's spirit will leave them. If he fails, then his father's spirit will stay and can hurt or kill a member of the family. For Berkey, the ceremony is fraught with danger. Hamar is Berkey's sister, a leading mourner. She'll stay for the 3 days as they mourn and say goodbye to Suri. A 150 family and friends will come together. Berkey will feed all and provide a fermented brew for them to drink. They recall a wise man, a highly respected elder, a warrior who fought local tribes. He was successful capturing cattle in raids. He is loved, especially by his daughter Amma. As dawn breaks, they're still singing. Suri's spirit is still among them. It's sad and lonely because it wants to cross the Omo River to join all the other spirits. Berkey must make very specific sacrifices for this to happen. Success and Berkey's a free man. Failure and the family is in peril. This small hut has been erected in the compound of their home to house a stone from the grave. This stone represents Suri. It's dressed and placed with some of Suri's prized possessions. Berkey's sister Amma remembers her father.
I'm worried that isa imbo tayo inindong isa inindor ko isa ang tayo takisi diap pirgesho diap dakin nasin dakin burkada kasin dakin isa mase aku ul fai lagi dono agasra mali dagos
In another distant homestead, a different ceremony is about to take place. Gele Turga is 17. Tomorrow he'll become a man. Gele has waited for his father to have a good harvest to fund this very expensive ceremony. His sisters and female cousins are first to arrive and are already in a state of high excitement. Gele's male cousins are collecting blood for the ceremony. They collect it by firing an arrow into the jugular vein of a cow or ox. Blood's part of the Hamar diet. Today they'll collect for 200 people who'll be here for this ceremony, perhaps the most important in Hamar culture because it opens the way for marriage. Hamar girls are married very young, often before they're 13.
They're going to shine.
Tomorrow, as custom dictates, Gele's sisters and female cousins will offer themselves to Gele's peers to be whipped. Alga, one of his sisters, tells why they volunteer their bodies. The day before the Okuli, there's a lot to do. Gele's father has invited more than 200 people, family and friends, to come and drink and watch Gele tested in this Okuli celebration. His mother brings local beer, whilst one of his sisters sings. Next day, the day of the Okuli, Gele comes home. Gele will become what's known as a maza, a young man deemed to be ready to marry. Every Hamar male must go through the stage. Maza is a society of young men. Like all societies, there are rules and privileges. Mazas don't work. If there is a war, they don't fight. Mazas are fed wherever they turn up, a perfect life for a teenager. However, they can only drink blood and milk and eat honey and meat. They can't have sorghum, the Hamar's main food, or alcohol. A maza ends his membership when he marries and has to take on responsibilities. This maza will be Gele's guardian. He has to be like a mother to Gele, making sure he's well fed and looking after his welfare as long as Gele's a maza. In preparation for Geli's ukuli, the Maza cut long straight switches. They remove the offshoots and bend them to make them supple. The girls appear again, teasing them and demanding to be whipped. The Hamar girls, many of them married, are close relations of Geli. They put themselves through this very painful ordeal as a thank you to him. They suffer, hiding their pain, asking to be whipped again and again. All Hamar women bear the scars from this whipping as long as they live. Alga, Gele's sister, was particularly brave and must have suffered a lot. But at the funeral, Berkey's got his own troubles pleasing the elders. We have seen girls whipped for Geli's manhood celebrations and Berkey conducting his father's funeral 5 years after he died. But for Berkey, there's trouble ahead. Berkey has been building his goat herd for 4.5 years. The harvest's good, so there's food. Berkey can't postpone the ceremony, though he knows the goats he will slaughter are too small. There have been murmurings that the goats are little more than kids. Today, the dead man's friends and neighbours are joining the family to drink, eat goat meat, sing, and say their goodbyes. They have a ceremonial role. Berkey presents the goats to be slaughtered, and they judge their quality. Now the elders are united. Berkey's worst nightmares are about to come true. On behalf of Berkey's dead father, Suri, they refuse Berkey's small goats. Refusal means the funeral will pause and Berkey's reputation's on the line. Then a friend steps forward to try and defend Berkey. Berkey brings more goats. How many he doesn't know because the Hamar can't count cattle or goats because evil counts with them and will surely take some away. The women keep the local beer flowing. Many goats are killed. The question is, will they feed 120 hungry people? If he is judged a failure, Berkey could be refused promotion to respected elder status. And even worse, Suri's spirit might not leave them and cross the Omo River. And the jury's out. The women dance, stamping on the cowhide that belonged to Suri to drive his spirit out and away. A tense time for Berkey. The senior elders are still unhappy with the size of the goats he has provided. Now the goats have been eaten, stomachs aren't full, and elders aggressive with drink are still murmuring. A defense comes with after-dinner speeches.
Bokansa donzan ya se mete gisha tayara keni ime ya pirkeda manala oitaisi I edamu pir ikameada kidi mana oisat ni ede kombadi takiya galam afika ai kirnana kotini na me yesa qoli qola yesa ami qola asa quti qola.
His friend makes a strong defense. Berkey has just slaughtered more goats than he can afford. But next day, as Berkey prepares to perform the last rites for his father, there is still a question mark over the quality of the whole ceremony. The stone representing Berkey's father Suri starts the journey to its final resting place. Here, stones from all the dead of the clan are carefully piled. Respected elders are here to make sure that everything is done correctly. There's a lot more resting on this ceremony than Berkey's status. He has to send Suri's spirit across the Omo River. From there, the spirit can't harm any of the family, and there it will join other ancestors who inhabit that place and be content. If the ceremony fails, then the spirit will not cross the Omo and will be a continuing danger to life, happiness, and the prosperity of the family.
Selling lele kinka way srida budon te kidi adab yacho adam bersab ada aga tayo moko shide yer doki san nabiat ogoro shidayan na bere turir edops na be asakaya banko hanno kore yana kashadono kalle kala shobar tay temparo shobar taon kachay anta rudi tur kachay temparo shobar posha mewa gilai
Berkey doesn't know what to do, so the elders are able to behave badly, treating him like an idiot. And Berkey is forced to pander to them. The Dookie ceremony has had to wait until there was general agreement that the time's right. It's 5 years since Berkey buried the earthly remains of his father, and now it's time for the spirit to leave them.
Nagaya delka, ircha ni tosa, labang ko sa dasa. Nagaya delka,
durpima nagadalqa imbu ejil facaya qolor facaya iskir facaya nagadalqa ramzaqanan dilke.
At this moment, Berkey inherits from his father, and it's time for the spirit to leave. The dookie has been completed, and Berkey is at last in control of his destiny. Or almost. The elders have been hard on him, so there's a nagging doubt in Berkey's mind. Has the spirit really gone across the Omo River? If not, there may be trouble ahead. Berkey's sister Amma is at home now guarding her brother-in-law's crop in return for his support.
Kaya jangkal size ashkes idukun. Ashkes inta dukidi keda siyak alai. Keda agadar lay amay sa wada.
Her husband died more than 7 years ago. Her father stepped in to help her, but his death exposed her to increasing poverty. She should perform a dookie for her husband.
Takolay amara tiski dookie. Daqni efad imbunay namanafat. Ansada.
This leaves her vulnerable to harm from his spirit, which cannot be released to cross the river Omo. Berkey has completed the funeral. Gelly's sisters and cousins have been whipped for him. But now it's time for Gelly to perform. At Gelly's ukulele celebration, his father passes out some strong alcohol to stop tired bodies from fading. All family and friends and neighbours are here to join the celebrations, to eat, drink, dance and sing. Meanwhile, the men get a war dance underway. The Hamar have been at war with most of the neighbouring tribes throughout remembered history, raiding cattle and fighting. The men sing and dance about war and their prize oxen, whereas the married women sing about matters much more intimate: sex. By late afternoon, Gelly starts preparing for the main event of his ukulele. But first he must go through another short ceremony, where the Maza blessing confers many children on him. They use a phallus and dip it in yogurt. That completed, the phallus is hidden in the archway, which will be used later to bless everyone. Returning to Berkey inherited his father's house at the moment when he touched the stone. It's his, and after today he will never mention his father's name again, never think of him. So now, as head of the household, he can at last perform the blessing called Barjo Allah at home.
Isa indak mati inda iya ada kota amin qacay sin gaba sana imba iya wazin ta khais iyan gattay ta ko makra kamsay hayadi sigi mati qotin iyan suusa di sigi mati imba kidi isin kidi Nagaya kudi, kaya kudi. Turku kudi. Nagaya kudi. Ndakuru nagaya kudi. Nashatu kudi. Nagaya kudi, kaya kudi. Turku kudi, kaya kudi.
This blessing is the means by which Hamar men cause the continued well-being of nature and culture. Without it, society and nature would disintegrate.
Nagaya kudi, isingo sa maka, amba isa sa maka. Nagaya.
Tomorrow, Berkey will know if the family's safe from his father's spirit. But tonight, he needs some action, and collecting honey is always fraught with a little danger. The hives are wedged high in trees to protect them from predators, so Berkey has to climb. Collections are made by men in the evening, and in common with beekeepers everywhere, Berkey calms the bees with smoke. Tomorrow's a big day for Berkey. He'll find out if the Dookie was successful in sending his father's spirit away. Berkey consults a man with the title Mawara. This man uses his special powers to answer questions posed. The elders were not at all sympathetic to him during the ceremony, and there were errors like allowing the goat to cry out as it was slaughtered. If the spirit has gone, all is well. If not, there will be penalties and a lot more goats to sacrifice. Next day, the waiting's over. Consultations are about to begin. Sandals are to be thrown. These sandals are small triangular pieces of leather that a man called the Mawara throws. Now the Mawara asks a series of questions, and the orientation of the sandals provides answers. Elders are here as witnesses. Berkey has inherited from his father, but is he free to enjoy his newfound status? Or is the spirit of his father still lurking, waiting to strike him down? The answer is slowly emerging. The Mawara throws and throws, and eventually he has the answer.
Dungurul paya. Ta bilon ya machidi. Tak dunguru wadi kinka Canada. Mora ake kanidi. Dunguru college ang alirsia dan da sianemba. Ya lidil nagaya. Udil nagaya korai dunguru ake kinka kandaini.
Great relief for Berkey. He is now a respected elder. No one will ever tell him how to perform a dookie again. Returning a little later to the Ukuli celebration, where the boy Geli will have to prove himself, he has to succeed in order to become a Maza. And he has to become a Maza in order to marry. If Geli fails, he will be a social outcast. Naturally, very few fail, but despite that, it's a really fearsome ordeal in front of a big crowd. 300 people, extended family, friends, and neighbours. The Maza select cattle who are wild and are confused by the noise and the people circling round and round. Naked, Geli must jump up and run across the backs of a dozen oxen to show that he is ready to become a Maza. This is Geli's day, and these are the most important 2 minutes of his life. Now for the second run. After a stumble, Geli has to turn and run again. He's down. But he's okay. Geli gathers himself. He has 2 more runs to do. Last run. A triumphant finish. Geli is a Maza with all the rights and privileges of that group. Now both Geli and Berkey have something to celebrate. Berkey has finished the ritual of his father's funeral and can now enjoy life. Geli Turga has run over the backs of a dozen oxen, proving that he is ready to be a man. After singing his thanks to his father, Geli will sing about his father's special ox. Every Hamar man has a special ox, and he sings about it at celebrations. To be special, the horn is twisted like this. A skilled man like Chinumba hits the horn with a smooth stone, loosening it from the animal's skull. He bends it and holds it in the new position with a thong. They do this to effect a decoration. The serrated ear is another decoration done sometime earlier. Once decorated, an animal is venerated and specially cared for, and the owner will sing about his special ox at all celebrations. One day, the ox will look like this. The last event of the ukuli is Geli's blessing from his uncles. The solemnity of the occasion is broken for a moment as Geli fights for branches. The number he gets will equal the number of cattle he will have. The branches are placed above the gate, and at the very end, Geli's father blesses the guests as they pass through the gate and out of the compound.
Bagaysa da hancadi ka banna bagatenu garna lele bagatenu aga disi bagaysa inda hancadi ka kinka bayin pot ena sa afu no wana kidi kitta ishi da keda lai imala sanatina sawana shigira wuda ina sawana pura hali put asawat waisi dikchanga garaba halush inte wajin
A new confident Berkey at last enjoys the company of these respected elders, now that he is one of them himself, and this opens a new era for him.
Ya karembe aki pugaisi pugaisi yedi pugaisa Faya. 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 Faya no kerin kodar kulaini. Koniye. 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 Niya na edu ko bashe. Ko bashe. Ko bashe. Ko bashe. Bashe no ko barze. Ko barze. Ko barze. Ko barze. Diana da dindera ar ko ya ko ambe. Kwambe ulba ukaye ulba ukaye ko kaye kaye ulba gibrenga ko ye wana nana budo dama nana budo shetu ko ye irsiyada uliko tote wako tote ko tote kasa loko birana ime en maqoti maqoti enta madaf mi jam قلتي ينو تاكي فخلني ما فخل اين ودا انا هاي كلا داسا كلا نات كدي تيغرور وين كامون درن نيدي اغلا كاين كو اين كوسي اغارورا بوچكينغيا هاي كلا داسا.
Meanwhile, Berkey, his father's funeral now finished, can join his family. The boy's protecting the crop with his sling. The Berkey family are all out at their field camp, where they can watch over their ripening maize and enjoy a lazy day after all their activity. For 3 months before the funeral, Berkey wore no adornments and let his hair go. The hairdresser mixes the clay he'll use to transform Berkey. Berkey's mother-in-law turns up. She is a mystic, a fortune teller with a fearsome reputation. She's come to see one of Berkey's daughters, who has an unexplained malady. The old lady blames Berkey for the child's illness.
Eke ukudi wala lalo iska. Sa eke ukadenka. Dorin wadima isi wadima ne. Pen yesa anamu gantu yera deka. Nana wurto ense ya ni turso nano. Ya ba wadima pata. Oi to dam ka inta na geja idabna. Nani nan an kasa kanidiyati yake ukan ba. Dam akan rasibat.
While she applies butter used in blessings and says her healing words, an old man asks for a reading.
Birra imate iseyena. Bunna bulai. Birra imate inta sasa.
Kato kali.
Kasi dito ka di.
Bisa kamu aja war kata.
Aki ada edit aki ana ziana baca ziana ay nakola. Kagaling dia kamana na warkatin biyan umaton yan be aga be to tape aga to wani isin na tapa debi mul amul ko ya sesa dega pani gada mu uchidi okay ya wallahi wali Anjaga nasi dalam anti.
Isa wa fayati. Wa isa fayati. Kullar isa dabini tasha. Lai aita ute isa dabi itikaya bis. Ndaga mi shira dara inu shidai.
Aga ini angka ini ya bersamanya.
Pagi juga ada.
Now that the hairdresser's completed his work on Berkey, it's the turn of the artist. Gele has joined his peers, is a mazo with no responsibilities. But he aims to change all that, and Berkey, freed from his father's spirit, is transformed. The hairdo completed, and it took 4 hours. Berkey finishes off with some artwork. The corn's ready, so the harvest can begin. The rains were good, it will be an excellent crop. For Berkey, everything's perfect. While Berkey preens himself, his wife Ike works at the daily chore, grinding 3 hours a day to make sorghum flour for the family. As she grinds, she sings. Berkey's collecting corn. It's the first harvest he can call his own. His father, no longer a threat, is forgotten, not discussed. Berkey's coming into his own. As a Maza, Geli's not allowed to enter his parents' house, so they've built this annex for him. But the life of idleness doesn't suit him. Geli wants to marry and become an elder. He can then build his own house, farm of his own land, and get on with his life. and his mother is pushing things forward for him.
Otin kiti suka mata. Amin ina koya mata. Amin ka anam makina. Amin ulidi. Amin koya. Otin suka sa wakin kamakam. Amin ka kidi uladai ama kemadai ama isa gurikin ikaldenka inaka oilam isa agadi. Takeda kin bulap man ken sab en oilam sadas. Imba sa takulla indan dia saka imba na kamaditi bunun kaisi galam bakaisi parsin sabais imba na amin ko sen kudin.
A month after becoming a maza, Gelly's father agreed to an early wedding. So the wedding party, led by a highly respected elder, takes the party to negotiate with the bride-to-be's family. Gelly's father will have to pay about 50 cattle, 70 kilos of honey, and maybe a Kalashnikov for the bride. Though there'll be hard, protracted negotiations, in the end they'll have to agree. With the koli stick stuck through the thatch in the doorway, the door is symbolically closed, preventing the girl's father from leaving the compound until there's an agreement. The man in blue and yellow is the girl's father. There are problems with the total payment. It is not enough. Also with the timetable of installments. So it's time to bring Gelly's father in to make a binding agreement. Caro, the bride-to-be, is not yet 13. She looks after her father, cooking, fetching firewood and water, and grinding sorghum. Her uncle stands here, wants his share, and is prepared to stop the marriage if he doesn't get it. So finally the price they pay is agreed. The uncle is satisfied, so the wedding can take place. This simple ceremony is the marriage of Gele Turga and Caro Mude. They will not live together until Gele's built a house and Caro's old enough to leave home. They drink honey together, and the senior elder winds Gele's strip of deerskin round her neck. They are now married. Marriage makes Gele a junior elder, no more the life of idleness. He can now get on with the work of making a home and building his life. Gele's father is buying Cara and paying a great deal for her. This practice leaves women in a weak position. Hamar wives have few rights, but 5 women were brave enough to talk well away from men.
Ogana paya anteni Baltamon Konna suqadon kurronti Amma koy donanti
أكيد سياق الله أجا وأنا فيا وسنا شديكة متى كادي متى والله يا هذا سن وأنا كنتون إم بزلوا لا يا كيما زلوا لا يا سن إم بزلوا قلتار أوي أنا إنا إمائم سرقان لا مودان داقي ويا دايسخ إم بزلوا كنا إيه سنة نقول خاصة يا ماي كلا يدي كلا سربار إنا أوكا جشوا أنت رامين كويس يندت سادت aku gulfaya
dai se inno ke me os kisil inter dai se inno wasa yer kole wasi ma worshone wasa yer kole inna qulla inna wanga inno isin amba wasi ta guro dad lo kode arkiyo أقا بروا إلا كامي كذا يا كنا وزي سراي أنا بها وزا أين سخايا سيا بالكيت ودا كنا أنا كده أنت كلها فين تاني يا دم أمتي يا
The Hamar celebrate harvest time with nightly dances. Berkey is now centre stage with a newfound confidence, a man to be reckoned with. Taking little more than t-shirts and medicine from the West, the Hamar people are vigorously holding on to their own culture and traditions.